The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Good morning. It is 9:06 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. How are you doing? Man, have you seen these fires in California? I'll tell you what. As I'm going to bed last night, I'm sitting there. My wife is like, "Hey, you got to stop looking at this stuff," and I felt guilty. And it's so crazy to be in this era of the digital age where I'm watching in real time people lose everything. And I feel guilty because it's like you can't do anything to help them. You can't do anything. And you're so far away, yet you're witnessing these people with this pain and this torment, and it is absolute insanity. And I just want to say, we got to be praying for the people in California much harder than the people in California prayed for the people in eastern Tennessee and western North Carolina when that hurricane came through. We got to pray for these people so hard right now. What they're dealing with is unbelievable, and it looks like it's going to get worse before it gets better. Tomorrow on the show, we're going to have Joe Bob on. He's in California, a good friend of mine, and he's run political campaigns in California for a long time. He's also a stand-up comedian, Turning Point USA contributor, smart guy, well-rounded. But I said, man, what do you think about this? He goes, dude, don't even get me started. I said, no, I want to get you started. He goes, well, let's do it tomorrow once we get a little bit more information, because it's unreal. It's absolutely unreal. I mean, I'm watching last night as these fires are raging, and you have video footage from Los Angeles, Sunset Boulevard, and people are just abandoning their cars on the streets. And this ominous orange, hazy glow everywhere you look. And it's scary, man. I couldn't imagine being in something like this. It looks like a war zone. You want to give me a little audio, Mason? This is in California.
And as Samantha Cortese has said, this is one of those dire, panic-stricken situations. That's because, look at this, the fire's right up on the hill. It is moving past. I can feel it's so close. We're going to be safe, but there's flying embers, there's ash. I can hear it moving down the hill. This is Pacific Palisades off of Palisades Drive. As folks, whoa, we got to step back.
I mean, it's moving so fast that the reporter says, listen, we're safe right now. 15 seconds later, it's whoa, we got to go. We got to go. I think I heard Jones say that it's 5 football fields every minute is going up right now. That is unbelievable. And it's so bad that people are abandoning their cars to flee on foot. And because they're abandoning their cars, they're leaving them there. They're taking their keys with them, which I'm sure you heard on Mandis's program. But you're going to have to clear the roadways to get the firefighters in there. So the city of Los Angeles had to resort to bringing in a bulldozer to literally push about 300 yards of cars off to the side. And the scene is absolutely insane.
Yeah, I want to take you here live right now. So this is Pacific Palisades. All of these cars were ditched.
And we're not talking Hondas and Toyotas. These are, I mean, very, very nice cars. We're looking at G-Wagons and Porsches and Mercedes and like the whole nine. And you have a bulldozer just shoving them off to the
all
side.
Of the drivers panicked. They took their keys. This is Palisades Drive as well as Sunset Boulevard. This dozer is just moving these vehicles out of the way. So if this is your car, unfortunately, it's an emergency situation, and this is what they have to do. They are moving the cars as we speak. Unfortunately, there are dozens of cars. This looks like a movie set. Unfortunately, this is real. LA County Fire, they have to do what they have to do.
And you can hear the metal screeching across the pavement. You can hear it as this bulldozer moves about 300 yards of cars off to the side so that way firefighters can get through. And then when the firefighters get through, as I'm sure you heard on Mandis's show, they get hooked up to the fire hydrant and then, oh, weird, no water coming out of the fire hydrant. Thousands are fleeing. I saw nursing homes being evacuated, and to get these elderly people out of there, they're loading them up in SWAT vehicles. Has the National Guard been authorized yet? Have we heard? I know it hadn't been authorized as of last check that I had this morning. But Joan, do you know if has the National Guard been authorized in California currently? Can we get a check on that? I'm just curious because this is absolutely insane. They're saying there's reports, Breitbart has the reports that New Year's Eve fireworks may have caused the Palisades fire. Fireworks that were set off on New Year's Eve caused a small fire in calm conditions. They say it may have smoldered and caused that wildfire currently burning in Pacific Palisades, Los Angeles, after being accelerated by the high winds. And the winds are just going to kick up and get crazier and crazier. Hundreds of miles per hour today at gusts of up to 100 mile per hour. Absolutely insane. And there are people out there that are far braver than I am. There's one citizen journalist. She has the Twitter handle @FirePhotoGirl, and she's going around and she's reporting on this. And you can in this video, she sees a woman walking down the street just being engulfed by smoke, and she's like, "What are you doing? Get in the car."
Hey, get in the car. Oh my God.
Yes. So I wanted to pop in real quick. California has deployed the National Guard to fight against the fires.
Okay, about time.
Get in the car in the back.
51 Golf on
Just
command.
push it over. Come on.
It's like, what are you doing out there, lady? She's like, I had to drop my car off to run into my home, and then I'm running back to my car.
That's wild.
The scenes are downright apocalyptic. Downright apocalyptic. And listen, I know that there's going to be time to figure some things out as to, what really happened here. But I don't want to jump the gun. But let's be completely honest. This is mismanagement, and this is diversity hires. And the diversity hires in this country are getting people killed. We saw on January 1st a terrorist mow down citizens in New Orleans because their diversity, equity, inclusion hire of a police chief didn't know that they had yellow archers in the back. Had no idea. Weird. And now we have a diversity, equity, inclusion fire chief in Los Angeles who's more focused on, and I quote, creating, supporting, and promoting a culture that values diversity, equity, and inclusion while striving to meet and exceed expectations of the communities. That's Chief Crowley's priorities, and she's grateful for the opportunity to serve the city of Los Angeles. I don't blame the rank and file firefighters, but I do blame the leadership. Let's pray for those firefighters today. Those guys are going into harm's way, and God bless them. those firefighters, they need our prayers for protection here today, because what they're up against is like nothing I've ever seen before. And I hope to never see it in first person, because it's insane. You also can point at mismanagement by the government of California. They laughed at Donald Trump when he said that you needed to do more forest management. Jack Posobiec posting the receipts on Twitter. He went back and got some old tweets from Donald Trump from 2019 when they were dealing with fires then. And the tweets from 2019, had they followed the advice of Trump, maybe we wouldn't be seeing the problems that we're seeing today. In 2019, Trump is saying the governor of California has done a terrible job of forest management. I told him the first day we met that he must clean the forest floors, regardless of what his bosses, the environmentalists, demand of him. Must also do burns and cut fire stoppers. Every year as the fire rage in California burns, it's the same thing. And then he comes to the federal government for money to help. Get your act together, Governor. You don't see close to the level of burn in other states, but our teams are working well and closely together, putting these massive and many fires out. Great firefighters. Amen to that. Also, open up the ridiculously closed water lanes. You see, that's the other thing. They can't fill the water reservoirs. But those tweets are from 2019. This isn't a new problem in California. It's just a problem that they continue to ignore. And the people that are dealing with it now, they don't even have fire insurance. Are you kidding? Yeah, a lot of people had their fire insurance canceled. Weird. There's a woman on the news just a little while ago saying her fire insurance was canceled shortly before these fires started ripping through Southern California.
I know I'm not supposed to be here, but this is my parents' home.
I know the feeling.
And they just lost, they got canceled from their fire insurance. So they're dealing with this. They're 90 years old, and through the state of California, because of this, they're 90 years old, that they've lived in this house for 75 years, and they've had the same insurance, and these insurance people decided to cancel their fire. And we're going through this, and it just happened, and they have no fire insurance.
Heartbreaking. Absolutely heartbreaking.
So, thank you, California insurance companies, supporting residents who pay taxes and love California. And they wonder why people leave California.
Yeah, honestly. Is it any surprise why people leave California? You look at the mismanagement at all levels. What is the mayor's on vacation right now? People take vacation. That's fine. But there's no water in the fire hydrants. I remember Dan, I was listening on the way, and he had a call back to people stealing fire hydrants in California. All of this could be fixed with just common sense policy. This has got to be the nail in the coffin for Gavin Newsom in his political career, doesn't it? It should be.
First and foremost, you did get your parents out safely.
I live in Sierra Madre. My parents are in Sierra Madre, but...
And now you know that it is under evacuation as well, north of Sierra Madre Boulevard.
Yeah, I snuck here. There's a will, there's a way. Probably shouldn't do it, but you know what? Under the circumstances, send me to jail. That's fine.
It is unbelievable what's happening here to the neighbors. Your parents' house is still standing. You had a hose. You're doing what you can.
I have a hose. It doesn't compare to these beloved neighbors that I've known. I was born and raised in this house, and I live in Sierra Madre, and I'm now 62 years old. And this is the house I was born and raised in, and I've never moved out of Pasadena, Sierra Madre, Hastings Ranch.
You can hear the wind ripping, and you can see in a lot of these videos the embers just swirling and flying around, and it's absolutely horrific. But again, it seems like they're woefully unprepared. And again, you look at their firefighting chief. Los Angeles recently appointed its very first female LGBTQ plus fire chief. And the goal of hers is recruiting more women and gay firefighters. I think the goal would be preventing these fires. But, hey, that's Los Angeles for you. This is their fire chief.
I'm super inspired.
She took time out of her already busy schedule to tell us about her vision for the department's future, one that includes a 3-year strategic plan to increase diversity.
People ask me, well, what number are you looking for? I say, I'm not looking for a number. It's never enough.
Out of 3,300 city firefighters, only 115 are women right now. She's already looking at ways to change that. She's quick to point out that doing so has a greater purpose, attracting the best and brightest for the job.
Yeah, I mean, apparently she was more worried about these diversity hires than she was about water being in the fire hydrants.
They feel included, they feel valued, and they feel part of a cohesive team.
The chief also checks another box when it comes to inclusivity and diversity at this department. She's a proud member of the LGBTQ community.
Wow. All right. Look at those qualifications, guys. As an absolute nightmare is unfolding in LA. State of emergency. It's so sad what's happening to these people.
This in an environment that you're used to seeing. I live here. I come to the Palisades, and now I'm seeing buildings that I've driven by for years no longer exist. Right over there, one of the shishiest shopping malls in LA, and there've been little spot fires popping up around that. So far, that has not gone up. But you can just...
I mean, it's just the scenes are absolutely chaotic. We're going to be sticking with this story a lot. And when we get back, we'll detail the Mayor Bass. She's in Ghana right now. We'll detail the absolute third world country status that California looks like right now in light of these fires. It was a small 10-acre fire, and it's now, over 3,000 acres? Probably even larger at this point. They'll blame it on climate change, right? But let's be honest, this is just a travesty of mismanagement. A lot more to come. It's 9:21 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand, and when it comes to HVAC, there's only one company I trust. That's Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. New year, new comfort, and they got some winter warm-up specials for you from Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, your Rude Pro partner. When it comes to HVAC, you can't beat these deals. Free air duct cleaning with a purchase of a new complete whole home AC. Or if you just need the air duct cleaning, you can get a free package upgrade. You buy the middle, you get the deluxe package. Or how about a free furnace checkup with any heating repair service, or 15% off indoor air quality products? How about a complimentary smart thermostat with any HVAC replacement? The deals are numerous. They want to make you happy. They make all their customers happy. I'm a customer of Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, and I can attest to their hard work. I can attest to their staff. These are good guys. They're going to come through, and they're going to do the right job for you. Now, if you need these guys, all you got to do is pick up the phone, 615-775-7833. 615-775-7833, or hit their website, busybeehvac.com.
Coming up, the new effort to stop cash payments to the Taliban and why your eggs are costing so much more if you can even find them these days. Those stories coming up at 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Is it bird flu?
It could be bird flu. Yep. Yep.
Scary. Yeah. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Joan Jones on the way with your headlines. California looking like a third world country. That's what Rick Caruso, billionaire real estate developer, said when he called into Fox 11 in L.A.
My heart goes out, obviously, to the people with their homes, and I'm watching the small businesses around us go up in flames. This is people's livelihoods, so it's devastating. But what is most concerning to me is our first responders and our firefighters who are trying to battle this. There's no water in the Palisades.
No water. No water.
There's no water coming out of the fire hydrants. This is an absolute mismanagement by the city. It's not the firefighters' fault, but it's by the city. And I'm going to be very honest. We've got a mayor that's out of the country, and we've got a city that's burning, and there's no resources to put out fires. So if you look at your pictures, you don't see the firefighters there because there's nothing they can do.
That's so sad. I mean, this mismanagement is so bad. It's downright. You wonder if it's intentional, And I've seen a number of super texters. You want to know how bad people, how low the trust of the government is with our listening audience. You have people out there who are asking the question: is this a land grab like Western North Carolina or Lahaina in Hawaii? That's how bad this is being mismanaged. That's how little trust the people of this country have of their elected officials and even non-elected officials currently.
And it looks like we're in a third world country here.
Yep, it does.
Mm-hmm. And we've got a lot of tough questions that we need to ask the mayor and the city council and our representatives and the county representatives. Why didn't you work to mitigate this? What was your brush mitigation program? I heard you earlier talking about it's been dry because there hasn't been rain. That's not the biggest problem here. The brush up in these hills that are controlled by the city and the county, I would bet you that if they haven't been handled, mitigated, pruned, removed for probably 30 or 40 years.
30 or 40 years. You know who said that you should clean the forest floors to Gavin Newsom? Donald Trump. Donald Trump said that. They laughed at him. Meanwhile, if you're following Charlie Kirk on Twitter, he puts it like this: California spent billions on the dumbest ideas ever. High-speed rail to nowhere, equity programs, homeless high-rises, and every LGBTQ pet project imaginable. But when it's time for the government to do basic things, they can't. What we're witnessing is the breakdown of the social contract. Yeah, that's what we're witnessing. And it's absolute chaos in California. Again, I just pray for them. And I think all of us need to pray for their safety, pray for the safety of the firefighters. The rank and file guys, they have nothing to do with this. Like, we can point our fingers at mismanagement, at leadership, but there are people on the ground that just want to do the right thing, and those people deserve our prayers. And I just hope that the death toll stays as low as possible, because it's going to be really, really bad when it's all said and done. And these people are going to have nothing to return to. Heartbreaking. We'll be covering this all day. Hang out with us. A lot more to go on the show. It's 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
$9:30 now. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. President Trump blames Joe Biden for the deal that sends $40 million every week in cash shipments to the Taliban, saying it inflicts severe economic harm to the United States. And Tennessee Congressman Tim Burchett tells WTN's Dan Mandis he's going to refile his bill that would put an end to those payments.
We're refiling it. Marjorie Taylor Greene is asked to be a co-signer on it, and I hope we get. Matter of fact, I hope we get all the Tennessee delegation on the bill in the House, and then the Senate
Burchett's tweets on that issue got the attention of Elon Musk this week. President-elect Trump has also asked the Supreme Court to step in and prevent his Friday sentencing in New York in the hush money case.
Donald Trump's attorneys say his status as president-elect means he has immunity now, even though he won't take office until January 20th. His application asks the court to preempt the normal appeals process in New York and put Friday's scheduled sentencing on ice. The lawyers who filed Trump's application are also his picks for top positions in the Justice Department. In fact, lead author John Sauer is Trump's nominee to be Solicitor General. If he's confirmed, he'd represent the federal government before the high court.
ABC's Stephen Portnoy reporting. Bird flu has taken out so many flocks of chickens that the cost of eggs is skyrocketing again. That's if you can even find them at your local supermarket.
The Department of Agriculture tells us it does expect egg production to rebound in the second half of this year as poultry flocks are rebuilt, and that should lead to some lower prices at the grocery store.
ABC's Elizabeth Schultze. More than 130 million poultry birds are affected across 50 states. That is the latest news. We've got your weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
It doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
Look, it's grotesque. I have never seen an outgoing president do what Joe Biden has done in the last 2 months. He is demonstrating absolute contempt for the American voters and contempt for democracy. Every day, what he is trying to do is tie Donald Trump's hands and prevent him from carrying out the mandate the voters gave him, whether it is taking 625 million acres of offshore drilling and trying to ban the drilling there, which is just stealing from the American people, whether it's trying to sell off the border wall, whether it is signing contracts with government unions, giving them the right not to have to show up at work, but to stay at home and pretend they're working, or whether it is granting pardons that are just shameless, from Hunter Biden to 37 murderers on death row, removing them, to releasing terrorists from Guantanamo. He is demonstrating an arrogance. You know, the Democrats love to strut around like peacocks and say how much they love democracy. This is showing an absolute contempt for democracy.
Yes, what we're witnessing is the first ever petty transition of power. The Democrats want a peaceful transition. They said nothing about being petty. And they're really underlining petty. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm Chris Hand. The show's brought to you by Better Water LLC. To steal a line from Murphy, you want to turn a monologue into a dialogue? 615-737-9986. Also, side note, have you heard Murphy in the afternoons? Guy's doing a great job, man. He sounds good. Selfishly, I miss seeing him as much as I used to. But, man, Murphy's been rocking in the afternoons. The Trump agenda, they are trying to tie its hands. They are. And you know what? It doesn't matter. It's not going to stop them. As petty as Joe Biden wants to be on the way out, man, deal with it. Deal with it. Trump is going to make America great again. And you know what? It's going to help everybody. Even the liberals that hate him. Pam is on the line. She's our favorite independent. She wants to talk about Trump's presser yesterday. What's up, Pam?
Wow. Well, Happy New Year. This is the first phone call I've made of the new year to you. So Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year, Pam. What's up?
Well, so yesterday, you know, I'm not a real big fan of Trump, but okay. I was very, very encouraged, especially when he started talking about the hostages, right? And he did, you know, I felt hopeful for the first time from our federal government that, because we still have American Israeli hostages among the 100. Yep. And that I feel like that something's actually got to get done, except for somebody bumbling going, oh, we need to, y'all just need to quit shooting at, you know, you need to go home and not fight for the hostages.
Yep. And I know that this was a point of contention for you during the election. It seemed like Biden and Harris were bending the knee to the radical leftists who were pro-Palestinian, pro-Hamas, and Donald Trump is getting in there. And I'm gonna put you on hold real quick, but these were the comments from Trump yesterday when it comes to the hostages.
Do you think they're waiting for President Trump to take office?
No, I think they heard him loud and clear. Better get done by the inaugural.
But when you say all hell will be paid, all hell must be paid if they don't release the hostages.
You know what that means, don't you? Well, do I have to define it for you?
He said, you know what that means. Do I have to define it for you?
If those hostages aren't back, I don't want to hurt your negotiation. If they're not back by the time I get into office, all hell will break out in the Middle East.
All hell will break out in the Middle East. Pam, is that not leading by strength?
Oh, well, you know, it is leading by strength, and this is something interesting. I was listening to a commentary this morning from a podcast, and even in our Torah, you know, the first, you know, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, it even talks about, you know, strength through, you know, peace through strength, right?
Yep.
It's not going out and intentionally, okay, we just want to hurt people. We're trying to protect. We're trying to rescue. And, you know, and that's one of our, you know, you are to rescue those who have been taken hostage, who are missing. That is one of the greatest, you know, missions we have, is to go to rescue. And so I really want a T-shirt. Seriously, I can't believe I'm saying this. I really want a T-shirt with that saying from Trump.
Listen, I know some people that make T-shirts. I can get you one, Pam, and I hope you'll wear it with pride. I appreciate the call. Jay wants to talk about the Trump agenda. What's up, Jay?
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, man. What's going on?
Churches. He didn't give any attention to the service arms, the free service arms that churches provide. So, what do you think about that?
Give me a little bit more of I'm kind of lost on what your question is.
Well, if you provide a food bank, if you provide a food closet or a rescue mission or flood relief, I don't really care which religion you are. I'm not going to name them all, but if you have a service arm in your church that's active, I think maybe there should be a religion czar. Well, maybe not with the separation church and state. But you see what I'm saying?
I guess a little bit. I'm still a little bit confused, but I'll kind of go into. I'll do a little bit more research on that. I do appreciate the call. Chris in Cottontown wants to talk about the Cali fires. What's up, Chris?
Hey, Chris. Hey, man. As a recovering Californian, I can tell you that everything they're saying about the mismanagement of resources. I mean, we would have our power shut off on a regular basis, sometimes for 2 or 3 days, in fear of sparking that would light up a fire. This has been, unfortunately, I can't believe it's taken this long for this severe of a fire situation to happen, because it's just that bad, and it could totally have been avoided.
Well, I think the question that people are wondering is, why does this only seem to happen in suburban areas in California?
I'm telling you, man, it's just completely mismanaged. I mean, are you kidding me? You open up a fire hydrant and there's no water?
Yeah.
What a freaking joke.
Or you turn you turn down a street and there's no fire hydrant at all because somebody stole it to sell it for scrap.
Yeah, well, and I've got friends that have been evacuated. We've been texting all morning. They're sending me fires right on the freeway, on the interstate. They can't get into their homes. They can't get into the places of work. It's unbelievable. It's truly apocalyptic, and it's unforgivable. It does not need to be this bad. It's unbelievable. Anyway, I don't know what else to say.
Where's the blame falling as you're looking at this and your friends are out there? Who are they pointing the finger at?
Well, unfortunately, most of them are all extremely liberal. So I'm sure if I were to actually have that conversation piece with them, they're not going to want to point the finger at Newsom or at the, the LGBT, fire. I mean, what a freaking joke. It's unbelievable.
I know.
It's, once again, let's not hire based on qualification and skill. Let's hire because they check off all the right boxes, and they're paying the price for it.
Yep.
And it's terrible. People are dying. This is going to be like Maui. This is going to be like Maui.
It's awful. It's awful. And it's like, and we're watching this disaster in real time. It's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking.
Yep.
Yeah. Hey, I appreciate the call, Chris. And, I'll send a prayer up for all your people out there. I hope that they stay safe, man. Appreciate you.
All right. Take care.
It's like, they go to open up a fire hydrant and there's no water. Or they turn down a street and there's no fire hydrant at all. This is just from over the summer. A rash of fire hydrants being stolen.
On this block, they don't have a single operating hydrant in case of a fire. Take a look. One was taken last night and the other taken on Thursday. Thieves are turning off the water first and then literally unbolting the fire hydrants and using their vehicles to knock it off and haul it away. And it's not just here. Sheriff deputies told neighbors they've seen the same thing happening in Linwood, where multiple hydrants have been taken there, too.
I mean, California, man. California. Absolutely insane. But Trump and Newsom, man, they had this conversation, too. It's like, you have all this money for the homeless. You have all this money for illegal aliens. You don't have money to fill your water reservoirs. You don't have money for forest regulation and cleaning up the forest, the beds of the forest. I mean, the audio's on the internet. You can find it yourself. Trump stood next to Gavin Newsom in 2018, stressing the importance of forest management after the wildfires that swept through California then.
It's cleaned out and protected. You've got to take care of the floors. The floors of the forests, very important. You look at other countries where they do it differently, and it's a whole different story. I was with the president of Finland, and he said we have a much different. We're a forest nation. He called it a forest nation, and they spend a lot of time on raking and cleaning and doing things, and they don't have any problem. And when it is, it's a very small problem. So I know everybody's looking at that to that end, and it's going to work out.
Yeah, so Trump was stressing that importance. People made fun of him for that. The AP fact-checked him when he said that and said Trump's wildfire tweets not grounded in facts. You know, when he said you have to sweep the forest floor. But he's right. He was right. California is just mismanaged and absolutely disastrous right now. We need real leadership back in this country. We got Donald Trump coming in 12 days, and it's going to be just what this country needs. And I pray that the people in California are safe. But Trump, he's got a big job ahead of him because of what this previous administration left for him. He said as much yesterday. We're inheriting a difficult situation. And I just think that might be the biggest understatement of the year. And I don't know if we're going to, it's only January 8th. This was January 7th. He said it. I don't know if we're going to have a bigger understatement the rest of the year.
We are inheriting a difficult situation from the outgoing administration, and they're trying everything they can to make it more difficult. Inflation is continuing to rage, and interest rates are far too high. And I've been disappointed to see the Biden administration's attempt to block the reforms of the American people and that they voted for. We had a landslide election. We won every swing state. We won the popular vote by millions and millions of people.
Yeah, and meanwhile, Joe Biden is trying to tie his hands as best he can. The petty transition of power is what we're witnessing in real time. We have 12 days till Donald Trump gets back in office, and I can't wait. It cannot get here soon enough. Mike in Nashville, you're up next on Super Talk. What's up, Mike?
Okay, yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, listen, I listened to Donald Trump's press conference yesterday and what he said from Mar-a-Lago, and Joe Biden ought to be ashamed of himself. You know, Donald Trump was giving some of the numbers. Do you realize that all the money that Joe Biden would cost the United States would solve the debt, the $1 trillion debt? That's how much money, with all the land that Joe Biden is trying to shut down, where he doesn't want Trump to drill at, that would erase the national debt that we have right now. Joe Biden ought to be ashamed of himself for doing that. And then Trump was talking about he sold the material for the wall for 5 cents on the dollar, material that was already bought and paid for by Donald Trump and his administration the last time. He sold all that material, so now the U.S. taxpayers, me and you, not Joe Biden, we have to pay for that more material to have a wall built. Joe Biden, and here's the thing that really pisses me off about the whole situation, is that after Donald Trump won the election, Joe Biden called Donald Trump to the White House and said, just like you said, he was going to have a peaceful transfer of power. He sat there and shook the man's hand, and now look what he's done. The last couple of weeks, he's done nothing but try to sabotage Donald Trump from him getting in the White House. Everything this guy has done over the last couple of weeks is try to make Donald Trump's job as difficult as possible.
Yeah.
And it's really a damn shame. What'd you say?
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I mean, go off, man. You're hitting the nail right on the head. It's not a peaceful transition of power. It's a petty transition of power.
Yeah, you're right. It's not a peaceful transfer of power. And the sad part about it is that he still has 2 more weeks in the White House to do even more damage. I'm a truck driver and I live down in Texas. And just to show you how bad it is, the oil industry. That was the first thing that Joe Biden did when he got in the White House was shut down the oil industry, and he put hundreds of thousands of truck drivers out of work that used to work in the oil fields. There used to be a truck stop close to where I go to sometimes, and it used to be full of trucks with oil trucks and sand trucks and other trucks that go to oil fields. I drove by that truck stop the other day, and it's a ghost town there. No trucks to be found. The whole town that used to prosper off of these oil trucks is told the hotels are empty, the restaurants are empty. Joe Biden devastated that whole city when he shut the oil industry down. And like Donald Trump said, But it's not going to work. This trick that Biden has done. Donald Trump said yesterday when he get back in the White House, he's going to turn all this bogus stuff that he's doing. He's going to turn it around, and he's going to drill, baby, drill, just like he said he was, and he's going to put people back to work. Like I said, Joe Biden, like I heard a guy say the other day, like Trump said, I don't like to talk about the deceased person. Jimmy Carter, he was the worst president that we ever had in America. But I got bad news for Joe Biden. Joe Biden will go down in history as the worst president, not only in the U.S., but the entire world. And I thank you for taking my call.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Mike, and I appreciate what you do, man. We love our truck drivers. And I would say this. Enjoy the peace and quiet at that truck stop. And enjoy the peace and quiet at the rest stop. And enjoy the peace and quiet at the restaurant right now. Because in 12 days, that is going to completely change.
Business is gonna be booming, and I might try to get me a job in the oil field in the oil refinery because they're gonna be looking for workers. Because, like I said before, when Donald Trump get in the White House, he's gonna open them oil fields back up like they should be and put people back to work. Because right now, Joe Biden, like I said, he ought to be ashamed of himself. And they want to, because I'm on a rant right now. You want to talk about somebody that needs to be in court? They want to talk about Donald Trump being in court on Friday afternoon. Well, I got somebody else who needs to be in court on Friday afternoon, and that's Joe Biden. With all the damage and the treason and all the things that he's done to America over the last 4 years, you can't tell me that Joe Biden doesn't need to be in a courtroom on Friday afternoon standing alongside Donald Trump. And I thank you for taking my call.
Hey, we appreciate you, Mike. Thank you for listening as always. It's 9:53 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Chris Hand here for you, and I want to tell you about my friend Shane Ring over at Cover Nash. If you need health insurance, get health insurance, but talk to a guy that knows what he's doing. Shane Ring has over 20 years of experience in health insurance, and he's going to shop the entire market for you to find the best plan for you. He has over 75 different companies to shop from and every type of plan available in the market, and he can help you no matter what your income or health situation is. So don't let yourself or someone you know and love get taken advantage of by call center agents in this limited, overpriced health coverage. You don't need that. Shane can easily be saving you 30 to 60% on your monthly premiums. And many of these plans are even going to pay you when you use them. I know it sounds too good to be true, but Shane can explain to you why this can happen in real life. So go ahead and give Shane a call today. Let him know that I sent you. He'll show you how much you could be saving on quality coverage right now. 615-465-0023. That's 615-465-0023, or you can hit the website to book an appointment, covernash.com. It's time for you to get a quality health plan managed by you, not the government, covernash.com. It's 9:59 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. The show's brought to you by Better Water LLC. My name's Chris Hand. Hey, Mike, if you're still listening, I just want to let you know everybody in Nashville loves you. I'm seeing a text on the text line. Mike, that dude is a savage. Love common sense, Mike. This guy's nailing it. Rant on, bruh. Tell this guy to call in at least once a week. People love Mike.
He calls in like twice a week.
Yeah, he's the best.
Love it when he calls in.
We love Mike. So everybody is fully supportive of our friend Mike. Hey, on the way, 10:35, we have a great guest. Father Calvin Robinson is going to be joining the show. We're going to talk about the grooming gangs in England. Now, I understand the gist of the story. There were some horrific sexual assaults happening in England. The perpetrators just so happen to be Muslim and Pakistani men. So you weren't allowed to talk about it because you could be called a racist. And then people that did talk about it and posted about it on Facebook found themselves with longer prison sentences than the individuals that raped the young girls. This is a story that goes back many, many years. And Father Calvin Robinson, well, he lived in England, grew up there, and he knows this story very, very intimately, and he's going to break it down for us at 10:35. Also on the way, we'll cover a little bit more of this press conference from Donald J. Trump that was happening yesterday. The Gulf of America, Greenland on notice, Panama Canal, we're taking it back. I love it. We'll play you some of the best highlights, plus take your calls at 615-737-9986. Hang out with us. It's the Chris Hand Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. It's 10 o'clock now, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. A fifth out-of-control wildfire has now erupted in Southern California. We get the latest update here from ABC News.
Hurricane-force winds fueling several destructive wildfires around Los Angeles. ABC's Alex Stone is in the community of Altadena.
I'm in a neighborhood in northern L.A. where flames are towering above these homes. It is pitch black in this area because the electricity is out. It is only the blinking red lights from fire engines and the flames lighting up the hillside here. This is one of three large wildfires burning in Southern California in extreme winds. One wind gust was recorded at 99 miles an hour. Just incredible wind, low humidity, explosive fire behavior as these firefighters try to save these homes.
The flames jumping Sunset Boulevard and burning parts of the Palisades Charter School where several movies were shot, including Carrie, Freaker Friday, and Teen Wolf. The wind too strong for firefighters to fight it from the air.
ABC's Sherry Preston reporting there. Locally in Tennessee, the snow begins flying around here on Friday morning. And by the time it's all over, most of Middle Tennessee will have at least 3 inches of a blanket of snow on the ground. Meantime, Channel 4's Brendan Tierney has checked in with the Tennessee Valley Authority, which supplies the energy to local utilities.
The TVA says major investments have been made after last January's record high demand.
To be able to make sure that on those cold winter mornings, we have reliable and resilient energy that can serve for the valley.
Other people we talked with were heading out to get shovels and salt before stores sell out.
Now, we are on this storm. We'll keep you updated as we get closer to Friday. And a Nashville group is headed to court today. They'll challenge Mayor Freddie O'Connell's so-called Choose How You Move program. They call themselves the Committee to Stop an Unfair Tax, and they say the plan was not properly funded, and they say the language used on the ballot to pass it was misleading. A hearing on that issue expected today. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
It's 10:06 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. We got a lot to cover today. We got wildfires raging in California. We have 12 days until the inauguration of Donald J. Trump. And the press conference yesterday was unbelievable. The show is brought to you by Better Water LLC. If you want to join the conversation, 615-737-9986. I think things are going to get better very, very quickly under the leadership of Donald Trump. And I'll tell you why. The first thing that they did at the press conference yesterday was they kicked it off by announcing a new investment from a man named Hussein Sejwani. And when this guy gets up to the mic, he makes it very, very clear that they've had this money to invest in America, and they've been waiting for 4 years to do it. Huh. That's weird. You didn't trust the Democrats to be good stewards of your investment? Apparently not.
And Hussein, I'd love you to come up and say a few words. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's been amazing news for me and my family when he was elected in November. We've been waiting 4 years to increase our investments in U.S.
We've been waiting 4 years to increase our investments in the U.S. I think you're going to see this over and over and over again. Businesses understand that they can do business with Donald Trump. You can't do that kind of business with the Democrats.
To a very large amount of money. We are a company operating in more than 20 countries around the world. We have delivered more than 45,000 luxury units and another 45,000 in the pipeline. In data center, we are in 10 countries around the world, in Asia, Europe, and Middle East. And we're very, very excited now with his leadership and his open strategy and policy to encourage businesses to come to U.S. For the last 4 years, we've been waiting for this moment. And we're planning to invest $20 billion and even more than that if the opportunity in the market allow us. But at the moment, we're planning $20 billion in data center, catering for the AI and cloud business for the hyperscalers.
I mean, it's unbelievable. He hasn't taken office yet, and we're already seeing the ripple effects of positivity coming from Donald Trump. Another $20 billion going to be invested in data centers. And it's going to be in I think it's about 7 states. If I recall correctly, it's like Arizona, Ohio, a couple others. Not Tennessee. I would have remembered that one. But it's $20 billion invested in America that could have been invested a long time ago, but they didn't trust the Biden administration. They didn't trust the Democrats. Are you surprised? No. Now, the media, well, they're hanging on the meme talking points, right? They're hanging on the Gulf of Mexico being changed to the Gulf of America, and I love it. I think it's absolutely hilarious.
$50 to $60 trillion worth of assets. We're going to be changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, which has a beautiful ring that covers a lot of territory. The Gulf of America, what a beautiful name. And it's appropriate. It's appropriate.
It's appropriate, he says. It's appropriate. I think it's hilarious. I think part of me would prefer Gulf of America. I think that would be even more based. But listen, let's do it. Does he have the authority to do that? I think he would, right? He should. He should. Like, we control those waters. Another thing the media is very, very upset about is Donald Trump wanting to be treated fairly when it comes to the Panama Canal. And a reporter asked Trump for assurance that he wouldn't use military or economic coercion on Greenland and the Panama Canal.
President, thank you. Wanted to touch on the world on fire that you mentioned, but let's start, if we could, with your references to Greenland and the Panama Canal, so forth. Can you assure the world that as you try to get control of these areas, you are not going to use military or economic coercion?
No.
And can you?
No, I can't assure you that I won't use military or economic coercion. No. I love it. Now, listen, the Prime Minister of Greenland, the Prime Minister of Denmark is saying Greenland is not for sale. And I wanted to be like, who said we were going to buy it? Let's just take it. Donald Trump Jr. was there yesterday. Charlie Kirk was there yesterday. The people of Greenland would much rather be in American control than Danish control. I mean, honestly, name something besides a Strupel waffle that Denmark has contributed to society. Oh, wait. Yeah. No, I don't make any promises that we won't use economic or military coercion when it comes to Greenland or the Panama Canal.
Tell us a little bit about what your plan is. Are you going to negotiate a new treaty? Are you going to ask the Canadians to hold a vote? What is the strategy?
Yeah, I can't assure you, you're talking about Panama and Greenland. No, I can't assure you on either of those two. But I can say this, we need them for economic security. The Panama Canal was built for our military. I'm not going to commit to that now. It might be that you'll have to do something. Look, the Panama Canal is vital to our country.
And now listen, what he's doing is he's bringing these people to the negotiating table, okay? And you don't want to give away leverage. You want somebody that you're negotiating with to be off balance. And if he says, yeah, well, economic and military coercion it's off the table. Well, guess who has the hand up in negotiations? You know, that might have been how Biden would have negotiated this thing, or let's be honest, Biden's handlers. Every time we say Biden's White House, it's like it's not. It's not, okay? It's the people pulling the strings behind him. It's the puppet masters. I saw that thing Trump put out on Truth Social. It's so funny. It's like all the presidents, all the pictures, and it's all the way down the line. George Washington right up to Donald Trump, and then it gets to Biden's picture, and it's a silhouette of 4 or 5 guys, and then it's 47. It's Donald Trump again. It's like that's the most accurate picture we've ever seen. That's let's be honest. But no, we're not going to promise that we won't use military or economic coercion, because that would hurt us in negotiations. And that's what this is all about.
It's being operated by China. And we gave the Panama Canal to Panama. We didn't give it to China. And they've abused it. They've abused that gift. It should have never been made, by the way. Giving the Panama Canal is why Jimmy Carter lost the election, in my opinion, more so maybe than the hostages. The hostages were a big deal. But if you remember, and nobody wants to talk about the Panama Canal now because, it's inappropriate, I guess, but because it's a bad part of the Carter legacy. But he was a good man. Look, he was a good man. I knew him a little bit, and he was a very fine person, but that was a big mistake. Giving the Panama Canal to Panama was a very big mistake. We lost 38,000 people. It cost us the equivalent of $1 trillion, maybe more than that. Probably the most expensive, they say it was the most expensive structure, if we call it a structure, which I guess you can, ever built. And giving that away was a horrible thing.
Yeah, he says, listen, Jimmy Carter, nice guy. He's the funeral's going on all week. Respect, honor, he deserves that, right? But he was too nice. The guy couldn't negotiate to save his life, clearly. And he gave away the Panama Canal for $1. And it was under our control until 1999 when that deal was finalized. And since then, we've been getting ripped off. No. Military or economic coercion is not off the table. We need a fair deal. Plain and simple. Greenland, military and economic coercion is not off the table. Plain and simple. We need it for economic and security reasons. And if they don't want to give it to us, well, we have a leader in the White House now who might just go and take it. Trump senior advisor Jason Miller was on Newsmax last night talking about Greenland, and he's saying what we're all thinking. Finally, we have a president in office who's putting America first.
Finally, we have a president back in the White House, or soon to be in the White House. We have a couple more weeks until we actually get him there. I guess 13 more days if you're scoring at home. Who's taking that macro geopolitical viewpoint into both our national security and our national sovereignty, but also with our national economy, and also things such as how we're going to protect our borders. And keep in mind, the world's a much different place now than it was even 4 years ago or 8 years ago, going further back. The Arctic Circle, as we take a look at it, this is now a major shipping lane, and it's a place where we see the Russians becoming more aggressive, we see the Chinese becoming more aggressive, and so the world looks a lot different. And for the past 4 years, we've had a leader in the White House with Joe Biden.
I mean, let's use the word leader very loosely.
To say that he's had his head in the sand would probably be a rather positive way of saying it. We've had just gross incompetence. So what President Trump is doing is saying, okay, let's look at the major security issues that we have. We need to have control of the Panama Canal, and we shouldn't have given it over in the first place. The president's been very consistent on that, talked about that even back during his first term. Greenland is something that we should be controlling. And so there are a number of things that are in play here, both on security. Also keep in mind with regard to Canada, we are going to have some additional negotiations when it comes to the USMCA, as the window for those negotiations are popping up to make sure that we're being protected, particularly with the U.S. auto industry. And so President Trump has been ready for this. He's been president before. He knows exactly what he wants to do on day one, and he's starting to put the chess pieces in place so he can look all these different things. And keep in mind,
Jason,
under President Trump, he's really used trade as a soft power to be able to move other countries to benefit American workers and the American economy.
Yeah, and it worked last time, and it's going to work this time. And I hope that whoever comes in after DJT as number 48, Lord willing, it's J.D. Vance or another conservative. Even if it's a Democrat, I hope that they look at this blueprint that Donald Trump is laying out, because it's a blueprint for success. Clearly, it's a blueprint for success. And it's a blueprint that Joe Biden and his handlers had no idea how to execute. Bob in Spring Hill wants to talk about Biden. What's up, Bob?
Hey, how you doing?
Good, man. What's up?
Good, yeah, and you kind of just said it a few minutes ago. When you say Biden administration, it's not Joe Biden. He has no clue what's going on. It's probably everybody behind the scenes, which really scares me.
Yep.
But the reason I'm calling is my question is all the stuff that the Biden administration is doing before they leave office, is it undoable? Can Trump reverse this stuff, or is there anything that's going to not be able to be undone by Trump?
I mean, I think he's going to be able to reverse a lot of it. The one thing that I wonder about is the work from home stuff that they're kind of locking in. But there's nothing that Donald Trump is not going to be able to undo, for the most part.
Okay, and that's my big concern. But also the work from home thing, because that's got to end. And if they're locking them in for the next however many years, I think that's a travesty.
Yep.
And the fact that he's not going to be able to undo that really bothers me, because there's so much, fraud and abuse going on in this government, and that's a big one right there.
Yeah, I say I'm not sure about that one, but I don't doubt Donald Trump will do anything in his power to get people back into the office. It's like 6% of federal workers actually go into an office, and that number drops drastically if you remove custodians and security officers.
Right.
It's unreal. It's unreal.
I can't wait.
Yep.
A few more days, and we're done with this godforsaken president.
Amen. 12 days, Bob. 12 days, and I appreciate your call. We're 12 days away, as Jason Miller, Trump's senior advisor, says, from no longer being pushovers anymore. He said this yesterday on Fox News.
He's making very clear, what I can say very certainly is that he is going to stand up for the United States and our security, whether that be national security, whether that be economic security, and we're not going to be pushovers any longer.
Thank you. Listen, America first. We are not the world's doormat. We're not the world's police force. Let's stop being pushovers, right? We're not the world's bank account, okay? We can't be the world's mommy and daddy. We need to look out for our own citizens and our own national interests, and that's going to start in 12 days.
We've seen what's happened with the continued Russian aggression in the Arctic Circle and near Greenland as that's become an increasingly powerful shipping lane. We've seen China expand their influence, whether that be in Central or South America. And right now, this is a massive national security risk that China could effectively just flip a switch and the canal would be shut down. This would cause massive chaos and massive havoc to the United States. President Trump is coming in, having done this before, having had this great set of results, looking at the entire chessboard, saying he is going to position the United States in a place where we can succeed. That includes securing our southern border, by the way, Martha, and making sure that folks, even neighbors, even friends such as the Canadians, are no longer taking advantage of us when it comes to economic or trade issues.
Yeah, 12 more days, guys. 12 more days. It can't get here soon enough. It's gonna be a long 12 days. And who knows what else is going to happen. I mean, 2025 is already shaping up to be as chaotic as it could be. Wildfires in California, terrorist attacks in New Orleans. There's no limit to what could happen in the next 12 days. Let's just keep praying. Pray for the safety. Pray for the people in California. Pray for those firefighters. A lot of prayers need to be sent up right now because with 12 days left, we are still in a very precarious situation in this world. So I just hope we can get to the finish line without any major disasters. It's 10:21 on Super Talk, and on the way, 10:35, Father Calvin Robinson is going to be joining the show to talk about the grooming gangs in the UK. There's been a lot of news about this, but this problem goes back decades. So I want to talk to a guy that lived there when this problem started. Calvin Robinson, he's recently moved to America because the things that he says about the UK and their government, well, that could land him in jail if he was still on that floating island of hypocrisy. Well, we'll talk about that a little bit more on the way, and we'll have Calvin Robinson joining the show at 10:35. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Up ahead, we have new information about a gang-related raid in Antioch this morning. Also, we'll check in on our snowy forecast. That's coming up at 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Are we going with Snowmageddon or Snow MG?
Snow MG. Yeah, I like that one.
You like that?
Yeah.
It's got a nice ring to it.
It does. All right, I'm officially hanging my hat on that one.
All right, Snow MG. You know what? You can have the credit for it, Joan.
Oh, thank you. Not that everybody's already heard that you made it up.
But we won't podcast it, and we'll cut the tape. We'll
Perfect.
Yeah, we'll just.
Perfect.
That never happened. Did you hear what Joan Jones said? She said Snow MG. That's good. That's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
I'm excited to get out there and sled. And my kids will come along too.
Are you going to let your kids sled too?
Oh yeah. Listen, we go hit the dunks, we get the hot chocolate, we go to that MTSU hill, and we're going to be rocking that thing.
There you go. That's awesome.
Oh, it's the best hill in Murfreesboro. I swear by the MTSU hill. So, looking forward to the snow. Selfishly.
Should be fun this weekend.
I know. I'm looking forward to not driving anywhere. Hopefully, I can do the show from home Friday. I'm not sure.
I was just going to say, what are you going to do?
Either I drive the tank, which is what we call our 4-wheel drive car, or I borrow a Comrex and do it from home.
I'll be here.
We'll see what happens.
Yell really loud.
Yeah,
Top of your lungs.
We'll see what happens. Listen, I'm pumped about my next guest. Father Calvin Robinson is going to be joining the show. You've probably seen Calvin Robinson. He's been on Tucker Carlson before, and I hosted a panel with him at Believers Summit. Was that in July last summer when Donald Trump was in Florida? And he's just a brilliant guy. And I trust what he says because he's a Christian, and I know he's not going to lie to me. A lot of the stories that you'll hear about the grooming gangs, if you're getting them from mainstream media, there's obviously an air of bias. And if you're getting them from conservative media, it almost feels like it's too much to take in. Like, even doing my research last night to try and prepare for this, I'm like, okay, let me look up these headlines. UK government refuses to release number of grooming gang rapist deportations. Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister of the UK, blasts far right for calls for inquiry into grooming gang failures, complains about misinformation on X. Nigel Farage calls for investigation into the Prime Minister Starmer's alleged role in Muslim grooming gang failures as top prosecutor. Yeah, he was the top prosecutor. Weird. You got judges censoring Rotherham child rape gang survivors' demand to deport Pakistani abusers. There are so many headlines. It's like you're drinking through a fire hose on this story, yet it's becoming one of the biggest stories yet again because the rapists, they serve less jail time than people who post about this on Facebook. It's downright evil, and it's been going on in England for a very, very long time. Why is it reaching a crescendo now? Well, it's because Elon Musk has taken note of the story, and officials in the UK are not very happy about that. You see, they can punish their own citizens for speaking out online. You can't really punish Elon Musk for speaking out online. I don't think that that's going to stop them from trying, but I don't really know when or how that's going to look. But what is this story? How did it start, and what do we do about it? It's a shocking story, and we're going to get all the details on the way from Father Calvin Robinson. And again, you can trust what this guy's saying because he's a Christian, and he follows Christ, and he rests his hat on the truth. So very excited about this conversation. We're going to have that after the news with Joan Jones, which starts right now on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
10:30, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. A quick update here on the LA County fires. Officials are holding a news conference right now, and they confirm that 2 people have died in those fires so far. They also say that 2 people have been arrested for looting. Here in Tennessee, snow is coming, but how much?
A widespread 3 inches is very easily going to happen across most of the mid-state, but there will likely be a lot of areas that see over that 3-inch mark. Areas that will be a little bit less in accumulation the farther north we go through parts of southern Kentucky. But either way, we're looking at either significant to major travel impacts that are expected throughout the day on Friday.
Channel 4 Stefano DiPietro there. It's out of here by Saturday morning. Well, Nashville Electric Service and TVA both say they're ready for the storm. NES is out trimming trees today. Those wires or those trees that may become a problem for electric wires in the storm. It's also added 1,400 megawatts of new electric generation to its service to the region recently. NES advises keeping the thermostat near 68 degrees. Tennessee Congressman Tim Burchett's bill that would stop millions of taxpayer dollars going to the Taliban every week is getting renewed attention after Elon Musk raised the issue yesterday on X.
And I think we've got the wind behind us on it now with Elon getting involved, and now folks like yourself are bringing it up. I suspect I'll be getting calls back and people wanting to know, where is that bill now?
Burchett on the Dan Mandis show this morning. He says right now the U.S. sends $40 million a week to the Taliban. An early morning investigation into gangs and sex trafficking at a home-turned brothel closed down Hobson Pike in Antioch this morning. A Metro Police spokesman tells News 2 that as officers approached the home to execute a search warrant, 5 men inside ran out and ran away. 2 of them were later captured near Percy Priest Lake. The home is reportedly located on 5 acres on Hobson Pike near Hamilton Church Road. That is the latest news. We've got weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Thank you, Joan. 1032 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Chris Hand here for my friends at the Glock store. When I go to train, and I really should go more often, I go to the Glock store in the Shoot270.com indoor ranges. I was there on Monday, and I had the best time. You want to know why? Because I shot the fully auto H&K suppressed MP5. I'd never shot a fully auto firearm before, and I don't know if I want to go back. I'll be perfectly honest with you. It was so much fun, and you're doing it in a private shooting room with a private instructor, and you can do it for free. All you got to do is book a session at shoot270.com and mention my name, Chris Hand, and they'll let you rent that firearm for free. All you got to do is buy the ammo. That's a $50 value just for saying you heard it on the Chris Hand Show, and you are going to have the most fun you've ever had shooting a firearm. I guarantee it. The right way to train every single time is with a personal instructor in a private shooting room. And when you do that at the Shoot270.com indoor training rooms at the Glock store, after every session, you're walking out a better, more confident shooter. And in January, you'll get to experience the thrill of shooting a full auto MP5. It's the incredible, incomparable Shoot270.com, only in Nashville and only at my place to train, the Glock store. Book your session today, Shoot270.com. It's 1037 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Very, very excited about our next guest. Father Calvin Robinson is on the line. Father, thank you for joining the show.
It's an absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me back.
Yeah, no, I'm very excited to have you on. I want to talk to you about the UK grooming gangs. I know that you lived in England for quite a long time, and you have some firsthand information on this, firsthand experience. And it's hard to kind of gather where to begin and where this began because of the censorship from the UK government when it comes to this story. So I think the place to start would be, what is a grooming gang, and when did this all really kick off in England?
That's a good question. It's been going on for so long now that it's difficult to know when it began, other than when we started with mass immigration. So a grooming gang is, in the loosest sense of the word, a group of men who prey on vulnerable young girls. But what we're talking about at the moment is Pakistani Muslim grooming gangs. And in fact, I don't even use the word grooming gangs because they don't just groom these girls, they rape and abuse them and torture them. I think the more accurate term is rape gangs. I know it's a horrible term, but that's what they do. And so these Pakistani Muslims, they seek out vulnerable young white British girls, and because they don't see them as human beings, they see them as lesser than because of their culture and their faith. They essentially abuse them and torture them. On occasion, they lock them up in basements or lock them up in their houses, and they tell them they have no worth, and they invite their friends round, and they have gang rape sessions, essentially. And sometimes this goes on for years. Now, there have been a number of these girls that have reported the situation to the police whilst they were still girls, and the police, bear in mind these are underage girls, these are minors, who are being abused. The police used terms like child prostitutes, packy shaggers, and these. I'm sorry to use such offensive. All of this is offensive, to be honest.
Yeah.
But this is the language from the police themselves. So the girls had no recourse. They had no one to protect them, and a lot of these vulnerable girls came from broken homes. But even if they weren't from broken homes, and their fathers turned up to try and rescue their girls from these hostile environments, the Pakistani Muslim men would call the police on the fathers, and then quite often there are cases where the girls themselves have now got criminal records. Again, minors, underage girls, under the age of 16, never mind under 18, we're talking about 11 years old, 13 years old. These girls have been arrested and charged for being indecent and inappropriate. In other words, they were drunk and naked. Why were they drunk and naked and or drugged and naked? Because the Pakistani Muslim men were filling them with alcohol and drugs and sexually abusing them, as well as other forms of abuse. But the men in question were never arrested. On occasion they were. Very, very, very rarely were they arrested. It's always either the fathers or the girls who were charged. And this is the wider scale of the problem, in that the police, the councillors, the local politicians, the national politicians, all tried to keep it swept under the carpet for so long because they were afraid of race riots, all for the sake of diversity, which is the modern idol, multiculturalism at any cost. Well, the cost right here, right now, has been young white British girls.
So it seems like it's been a regime of censorship hiding this, and a game of verbiage where, even grooming gangs, it doesn't really define what it is. You have young girls, they'll say child prostitutes, but I've never met a child prostitute. What we would call a sex slave. Why is this now coming back to the forefront, and the British government is trying to essentially stomp it out and not let the story reach the masses?
Oh, it's absolutely amazing what's happening, isn't it? So Elon Musk, thank God for Elon Musk. Now, I don't agree with Elon Musk on everything. I'm a Christian and a conservative. I don't think he's a Christian or a conservative. But as a libertarian, he does believe in free speech, and that's where we align. And since he's bought X, he's allowed conversations to be had on X that were not allowed for so long. You could have been blocked and banned for mentioning Pakistani Muslim rape gangs in the past. Now we're allowed to have the conversation, and he's been made aware of it. And so he's asking the UK government, what is going on? Why are you covering this up? And in fact, the UK government, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom made a statement the other day after he was challenged by Elon Musk. And Sir Keir Starmer said, people are trying to jump on the bandwagon of the far right. Now, to suggest that it's a far-right bandwagon to be concerned about the safety and well-being of young British girls is absolutely absurd. It should be his first priority as the Prime Minister, the safety and well-being of the British citizens.
Yeah.
You know, national security is the number one issue of any government.
Yep.
But for him to try and say it's a far-right bandwagon points the finger back again at the people pointing out the problem rather than the problem itself. And we know why this is. This is because our Prime Minister used to be the chief prosecutor. He was in charge of sending people to prison or not, essentially, in our criminal justice system. And he was on the panel that met 21 to 23 times that decided to lower the sentences for sexual abuse. He was also one who let off serial sex offenders on many occasions, and he's also been involved in the cases of many of these Pakistani Muslim rape gangs. And so he's complicit, essentially. If there is a public inquiry, which we're all calling for, it will find him and his government, and the previous government, to be fair. It's not a party political issue, it's not a partisan issue. All of the governments, all of the politicians, and the mainstream media will be found complicit in covering this up. And the only conclusion I can come to, again, is for the sake of diversity and multiculturalism, because at any cost they want to paint multiculturalism as a good thing. And I would argue that it's not, because some cultures are better than others in certain areas, and it should be okay to say that. You know, I don't think it's appropriate to throw people off the roof for being same-sex attracted. I don't think it's appropriate to say a woman cannot drive or leave the house without being shadowed by a man, whether her father or her husband. I don't think it's appropriate to say that human rights do not exist unless you follow a particular religion. Now, some cultures do think that's appropriate. Fair play to them, but I would say those cultures have no place in the West, no place in Great Britain, and I hope that Americans would say no place in America either.
But completely agree. Completely agree.
What we have in Britain is our government's against that. Our government doesn't see that. They see all cultures as equal, and that is the idol that they're willing to die on. That's their hill.
And it seems like you're almost punished more than the rapists for calling this out. By putting a post on Facebook, you could actually face more jail time than you could for doing the deed.
Chris, make it make sense, please, because this is the truth. People who have been arrested for these awful crimes have lesser sentences than people who have been arrested for talking about it. So if you address it, this is one of the reasons I'm not in the UK anymore. If you talk about this issue publicly, you'll have the police knocking on your door, and it'll be a hate crime incident, it'll be Islamophobia, it'll be racism, it'll be whatever they want to throw at you for raising the issue. I've got friends who have been arrested, friends who are still in prison right now, who are serving longer sentences than the rapists. It does not make any logical sense.
Well, and I made that note when I was teasing the interview. I said, you know, saying what you're saying now, by the grace of God, you're here in America and you can say it, but you would have received a knock at the door. Why does the British citizenry deal with this? I can't understand why this has been allowed to go on for so long. Where are the men and where are the fathers demanding action be taken?
I don't know. This is what I'm struggling with at the moment. There's a massive demand right now for a public inquiry into this whole situation. And that's a good thing. We do need an inquiry. But I don't think it's enough. I honestly think the British lion has been tamed. There aren't enough people willing to stand up and fight for what's right. Part of this is that we gave up our guns. So the government took away our last right to bear arms was taken away in 1997 after a mass shooting. You know, politicians always use any kind of bad incident to their advantage, and they used an awful incident to their advantage and took our guns away. So we have no recourse. In America, thank God you guys have freedom in your First and Second Amendment. You have your free speech and you have your right to bear arms to protect yourselves in your free speech and to protect yourselves against a tyrannous government. Now, in the United Kingdom, we have a tyrannous government. We don't have arms. We don't have free speech. So I'm not entirely sure what we can do.
Yeah, it's shocking. We're talking with Father Calvin Robinson, who recently relocated to America because, you know, telling the truth is a revolutionary act now in the UK. And saying things that you're saying on this interview very well could have landed you in jail, could it not?
It could, absolutely. Many of my friends have been arrested. Many of my friends are in prison already for speaking the truth. I want to highlight one in particular, Tommy Robinson, who put a brilliant documentary together highlighting truths that have been swept under the rug, and they got him for contempt of court because the courts of the land said you're not allowed to publish this information. And he published it anyway, God bless him. And now he's in prison for 18 months for contempt of court, which is just unprecedented. It's outstanding. And he's in solitary confinement in a maximum security prison. Again, these things, you don't get these things for contempt of court. It's clearly they're using the criminal justice system against people that are saying things that they don't want to be said.
Yeah, and it's unreal. But how do we fix it? It's mind-blowing to me. It's like, we talk about, we need to go do this war and we need to send money to Ukraine. And I'm looking across the pond and I'm thinking we need to liberate England.
I absolutely agree. I don't know what we do. I really don't know. I think Donald Trump may put some pressure on. Elon Musk is already putting pressure on. But, to some degree, it's not really a foreign affair. We, as Brits, need to sort it out. I just don't know how. And so I suppose, the question is the same to you as it is to all of us. What can we do?
Yeah, it's heartbreaking. And the stories and the court documents that are coming out from these sexual assaults on minor children, it's something that I can't say on the radio because of FCC regulations. What's been done to these girls is evil incarnate. And it seems like the British government is just okay with it.
It is absolutely evil. And I think actually, to this point, I think the state is evil. I've just been thinking about this because whilst we're having this conversation about the Pakistani Muslim rape gangs, which is just disgusting, there's no evil worse than that. There are also many evils being perpetrated by the state. They're clamping down on prayer. You and I have talked about this in the past. Silent prayer is being outlawed. So not only they're outlawing free speech, but your freedom to communicate silently in your own head with your God. I can't come to any conclusion other than the state is evil.
Yeah, I recall seeing a video online of a British woman praying outside of an abortion clinic, and that was a bridge too far for the local authorities, and she was arrested.
Yeah, I know. I'm laughing. It's not funny. I'm just laughing because it's so insane. You have to laugh when you cry. I know this woman, Isabel Vaughan Spruce. She's a friend of mine. She was arrested twice for silently praying in her own head. Not for petitioning, not for protesting. She had no literature, no signs. She didn't say a word. Standing there silently praying in her own head. We've moved past the point of free speech. This is free thought. This is thought crime. We're living in 1984. It was spot on. It was just a few years too early.
Is there anything that we can do as Americans to bring this issue to light and amplify this conversation?
Yeah, I think just having the conversation is important. Letting the British politicians know that the world is watching them. All eyes are on the UK. They cannot continue to get away with this. And it's not good enough to be silent about it. Being silent at this point is complicit in the evil, the acts that are perpetrated. The people the government, the mainstream media, the judiciary, all of the people that are being quiet about this right now, they are just as bad as the rapists themselves because they're letting it go on. And of course, this isn't all historic, Chris. This is the worst thing about it. It's still going on today. And you know what? Even worse than that, we know where. We know the towns. We know the cities. We know the minicab companies and the kebab shops. We know the people that are doing this. And it's still going on.
It's one of the most surveilled countries in the world. How can you not know the players in the game? We're talking with Father Calvin Robinson about they call them grooming gangs, but they're rape gangs, Pakistani Muslim rape gangs in England. Can the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, survive this scandal? And if he can't, can the Reform UK Party and Nigel Farage get in there and fix it? Is that even feasible at this point?
I don't know how Sir Keir Starmer can survive this. If he does, if he manages to stay in office despite this huge scandal, then the country is pretty much kaput. There's no coming back from that. If we say this is okay, then we're done. So I don't think he can survive it. But I think the Labour Party will cling on. Because they do have such a majority, they'll probably just replace him with someone just as bad as him. I don't think Reform have a shot of coming anytime soon, maybe in 4 or 5 years at the next general election. But I don't think we'll have a snap election, even if Keir Starmer resigns. I think they'll find someone within their party.
It's heartbreaking. It seems that this problem won't be resolved. You're not allowed to talk about it, and nothing is going to come of it. And I'm wondering, at this point, is England just a lost cause?
Oh, I mean, that's a hard question. I pray and hope that it's not, but I think the only way to solve it is through prayer, is through revival. I can't see a political answer. I can't see a political solution other than civil war, and I don't want to incite violence and call for a civil war. I can't see a way out of the mess that we're in right now. Things have gotten too bad over the last 100 years. First of all, it was happening very slowly, and then just over the last few years, just rapidly all of a sudden, it feels like my country, like my home is lost, but I don't want to give up on it.
If Americans want to learn more about this, and we're talking with Father Calvin Robinson about the Pakistani Muslim rape gangs in England, if Americans want to learn more about this, who are some voices that you trust to provide truth in this conversation?
Oh, that's a great question. Lois McClatchy Miller, she is from Alliance Defending Freedom. In fact, anyone from Alliance Defending Freedom, they go by the pseudonym ADF, are great to look out for. Tommy Robinson, he's obviously in prison right now, but his X account is still active and he's got admins working there. My good friend Lawrence Fox, who I have a show with, Fox and Father, he is always reporting on this stuff, and he's one that won't be silenced regardless. And actually, right now, I recommend Elon Musk. I think he's probably the biggest voice on this topic. I'm not a member of the Reform Party, but Rupert Lowe, MP from the Reform Party, is a good voice on this. The Conservatives have been okay, but Kemi Badenoch is trying her best. And Samantha Smith has been an ardent activist in this area for many years. And actually, there have been a few voices in the UK who have been fighting this fight for a good while, despite it not being popular. In fact, despite being persecuted because of it. And now all of a sudden it's popular, and there's a kind of a new energy in it, and I think that should be celebrated. Anyone who is speaking on this topic should be congratulated for being bold enough to speak on it. And I thank you all for engaging in this.
No, and Father Calvin Robinson, I thank you. I thank you for being a light in this arena and bringing truth and being bold. We need more people like you on that island, and we're glad to have you here in America. Where can we find you and keep up with you?
My is Calvin Robinson. That's CalvinRobinson. That's on pretty much most social networks. X is my biggest platform, but you can also find me on calvinrobinson.com, which is where I publish articles for free.
Hey, Calvin Robinson, Father Calvin Robinson, I really appreciate the time, and I really appreciate your insight and expertise on this topic. I wish that we would meet and be able to talk about positive things, but I do appreciate you shining a light in the dark.
Thank you, brother. God bless you.
God bless. Father Calvin Robinson on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Thank you for the call. We got a lot more on the way on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in, and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
It doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
Got some crashes to deal with. Harding Place, just west of I-24. Then in Murfreesboro, 840 southbound. Actually, that's going to be 840 eastbound, right there at Sulphur Springs Road, exit 57. And then 24 eastbound, right before 65 north. Got a crash blocking the right shoulder just north of downtown. We're tracking snow, California wildfires, gangs, and sex trafficking in Nashville. Coming up at 11 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I feel like you're going to need 10, 15 minutes for the top of the hour news, Ken Weaver.
I might. It's like we said, Brother Chris. It's like a fire hose, dude.
Oh, my gosh. And the drive in, it's like, the Christmas break late traffic, that's gone. We're back to Mad Max.
Yes, sir. I'm back in the right. I'm back in the right lane, brother.
It's unreal. Ken Weaver's got the headlines on the way. I want to give you an update on the border. The Laken Riley Act passed in the House yesterday, so it's on to the Senate. No Dems in the House supported it, but one Democrat in the Senate says, why? Yeah, I know. A Democrat with a base take? Surprisingly, yes. I'll tell you which Democrat is in favor of the Laken Riley Act and in favor of some Trump cabinet nominees. We'll cover that when we get back. It's 11 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Eleven o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. One more note on traffic. I misspoke. That crash in Murfreesboro, that's going to be 840 westbound there in Murfreesboro. That's going to be right before Sulphur Springs Road. Snow, my gosh. Stefano DiPietro.
Of course, all eyes are on Friday, a first alert weather day for what is potentially a major winter storm coming our way Friday into Friday night. Snow developing through the morning, widespread through the afternoon, and then tapering off early into the night. Significant travel impacts are expected through our Friday, widespread 3 to 6 inches across most of the mid-state. We could see a little bit more, though, through parts of southern Middle Tennessee.
All right, we'll be here to tell you about it. Full forecast and traffic. And we're freezing in Middle Tennessee while people and homes are literally burning up in Southern California.
This is a special report from ABC News. California wildfires. I'm Sherry Preston. We have just learned that the wildfires burning throughout Los Angeles have claimed at least 2 lives. Los Angeles County Supervisor Catherine Barger minutes ago.
This is a dynamic situation. We've got fires throughout the entire county, which are spreading our resources very short. One of the things that people ask me is, what do you want to convey to the public? And that is, heed the advice of first responders. When they ask you to evacuate, evacuate.
Fire Chief Anthony Baroni says 1,000 structures have burned so far, and they don't know how it started.
The cause of the fire is unknown. However, it is under investigation.
ABC's Leanne Suter is on the scene of the Altadena fire north of Los Angeles.
It sounds like a freight train is coming through the trees here. Like, here comes another one. You can hear it kind of building as it starts. And then these winds really hit hard, these gusts, and that is the problem for all of these firefighters.
Stay with Super Talk 99.7 WTN for continuing coverage, updates on air and online. Back here in Middle Tennessee, there's been a huge police presence on Hobson Pike near Hamilton Church Road since early this morning. The roadway at one point was closed to traffic. News 2 reporting there are agents with the Department of Homeland Security searching that property. Officers were seen breaking the windows of several cars. News 2 says it's an investigation related to gangs and sex trafficking. We have learned that at least 5 people are in custody and that this is not the end of the investigation, that it is ongoing. Tennessee Congressman Tim Burchett's bill that would stop millions of taxpayer dollars going to the Taliban every week is getting renewed attention after Elon Musk raised the issue yesterday on X.
And I think we've got the wind behind us on it now with Elon getting involved, and now folks like yourself are bringing it up. I suspect I'll be getting calls back and people wanting to know, where is that bill now?
Burchett on the Dan Mandis show this morning saying right now the U.S. sends $40 million a week to the Taliban. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
It's 11:06 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. The show is brought to you by our friends at Better Water LLC. If you need a water filter, well, you call Better Water LLC. And clean up the water. Clean it up. Laken Riley Act passes in the House. It's now on to the Senate, which is very, very good. It will require ICE to detain illegal immigrants. It passed in the House. 159 Democrats voted against it. 159. The Laken Riley Act did pass, though. Vote of 264 to 159 on Tuesday. After lawmakers gave floor speeches, they voiced their support or opposition to the law. All the 159 votes that were no came from Democrats. Huge shocker. Huge shocker. Laken Riley was murdered by an illegal alien. You know the story. We all know the story. And now we also learned, recently that he had suspected connections to Tren de Aragua. He was sentenced to life in prison in November after being convicted of the crime. I wish he got the death penalty. That's just me. But H.R. 29, or the Laken Riley Act, it amends the Immigration and Nationality 8 Act to require the Secretary of Homeland Security to take into custody illegal aliens who have been charged in the United States with theft. And now, this is big because Jose Ibarra, the man that killed Laken Riley and brutally raped her, he had been cited for shoplifting leading up to the murder of Laken Riley. If local law enforcement had called ICE and ICE issued a detainer and picked him up, Laken Riley would be alive today. She'd be alive. There's no way around that. She'd be alive. She didn't have to die. If our government was doing their job, if our elected officials were doing what was in the best interest of the American people, Laken Riley would be here. She's not. But God won't waste your pain. And the Laken Riley Act has passed in the House. It's on to the Senate. Now, the word is that there are no Dems in the Senate that are supporting this. I'm sorry. There will be Dems in the Senate they're going to support this. One of those Democrats is John Fetterman. And you know what? He was on Fox News yesterday, and he was actually laying it down, throwing some heat against Democrats for opposing the Laken Riley Act.
To remind everybody that we have hundreds and hundreds of thousands of migrants here illegally.
Millions.
That have convicted of crimes. And why, I don't know why, who wants to defend that, to allow them to remain in our nation? That. And now if you're here illegally and you're committing crimes and those things, I don't know why anybody thinks that it's controversial that they all need to go.
Do you think that this was one of, if not the biggest issue for this election?
Well, I think if we can't, there's 47 of us in the Senate, and if we can't pull up with 7 votes, if we can't get at least 7 out of 47, and if we can't, then that's the reason why we lost. That's one of them. That's one of why we lost.
Yeah, 100%. The border is a reason why you lost. 159 Democrats in the House voted no against the Laken Riley Act. Fetterman says if we can't come up with 7, then that's the reason we lost. I hope they can come up with more than that. It's like you want to believe that the Democrats just disagree with you on policy and they're not evil. Yet time after time after time, they do things like this where you're like, are you just evil? Are you? Good on John Fetterman for speaking the truth. Good on him calling out Democrats. This shouldn't be a controversial issue. Now, Fetterman also says he's potentially, at least considering voting to confirm Tulsi Gabbard and RFK, which that one kind of blew my mind. And he said, the fact that he even took a meeting with some of Trump's nominees caught him a lot of grief from Democrats in the House and Senate.
Senator Warner, the chair of the, co-chair of the Senate Intelligence Committee, met with Tulsi Gabbard. He said he had a session with Ms. Gabbard. He went on with a lot of questions. He's still got a lot of questions, and that we have to do a process, a beginning of a process, suggesting that there's a long way to go. Is this Tulsi Gabbard one of the nominees that you could vote for?
Well, I met with her. In fact, I think I've met with virtually all of them. And the ones that I haven't, they're on my schedule, RFK and Governor Noem. So I'm happy to meet with all of them. And that's also part of this. I don't know why that was controversial. I mean, I got a lot of blowback just, even to meet with them. And to me, I see that as just doing my job.
I love that. Listen, that's my job, right? I'm in the Senate. The Senate's going to vote to confirm these people. I should meet with them. That's doing my job, and he receives blowback. Fetterman, I feel like, is being a bit red-pilled in real time. I also think he's more of a classic liberal and not a radical, progressive left-winger. He's very much Israel's our ally kind of guy. He's very much illegal aliens that are committing crimes shouldn't be here kind of guy. He just seems more realistic and down-to-earth with the process and the laws of this nation. He says, I don't know why I got blowback for even meeting with them.
And I'm going to have a conversation with anyone that would like to have a conversation with me. And if someone believed everything that's been written or said about me was true, I mean, you can't possibly know me, or I think I could know her either, just based on someone read. But I want to sit down and have a conversation. And I'm really glad that I've done that. And some of these nominees I'm going to vote for.
What? All right. Some of these nominees I'm going to vote for.
Already. In fact, whether it's our colleague Rubio, our Representative Stefanik, or even Sean Duffy, I expect to vote for him as well, too. And Brooke Rollins for agriculture. Yeah. So there's a lot of them I can say right now here on Fox, I'm going to vote for them. But there's others, but that we're going to go through the process. But I'm open to hear from everyone, and I don't know why that's controversial. And I also would like to remind everyone on the Democratic side, that's the way democracy works.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being reasonable. Like I'm not going to agree with John Fetterman on everything. In fact, it's probably a very, very short list on what we're going to agree on. Thanks for being reasonable, right? That's all we want. Let's have a conversation. That's how we're going to bring this country together. I wish more Democrats were reasonable in their views like this. Yet We all know that's not the case. John Fetterman seems to be reasonable. And he needs to be, especially with the Laken Riley Act, especially with illegal aliens. Like, how are you voting against that? It makes no sense. Meanwhile, Donald Trump is going to be inaugurated in 12 days. When he gets inaugurated, well, deportations are going to start day one. And the migrants, the illegal aliens, they know that. We got another caravan racing to the border. They want to get in before Trump gets in. And it's, this is what we're dealing with. Sources told News Nation that the majority of migrants in this group that are headed towards the border are coming from Venezuela. Oh, home base of Tren de Aragua. I'm sure there's only a handful of Tren de Aragua gang members in that caravan, though, so don't worry. The final destination of this caravan, El Paso, Texas, and Juarez, Mexico. Juarez is just a couple miles from the border. Authorities have reportedly dubbed their effort to break up caravan groups Operation Carousel, and they're working to break up such groups and negotiate with them to travel to other Mexican states. According to Border Report, a pastor who runs nearly a dozen shelters in northern Mexico said that over 2,000 illegal aliens in Durango plan to head to the U.S. soon. They want to get in before Trump gets in. There have been at least 10 groups, including the latest one, that have set out since October in pursuit of crossing the border. The prospect of Trump taking the White House has increased the pace at which some are trying to cross into the United States while Joe Biden is still in power. Yep. Listen, they're not all refugees. They're not all just looking for a better life. We've got Iranians and Egyptians caught sneaking across the Texas border. Border Patrol arrested a group of special interest aliens after they crossed the border from Mexico into Texas last week. That group included 2 Iranian nationals and 2 Egyptian illegal aliens. U.S. Border Patrol Chief Jason Owens posted a report on social media revealing the arrest of these 4 special interest aliens who come to the United States from countries with known ties to terrorism. And he said U.S. BP agents never let up during the holiday season, ensuring potential threats do not make their way to our communities. I'm glad that they're out there doing the work, but we need to be doing more. We know a lot of these special interest aliens have already gotten through. And we're waiting for the shoe to drop on another terror attack. Tom Homan, meanwhile, is in discussion with third-party nations to take in illegal aliens. I like this idea. A lot of these countries are not going to welcome these individuals back home because, as Donald Trump has said, about 1,001 times, they're coming from prisons and mental institutions. So incoming border czar Tom Homan, he said over the weekend that he is pretty close to finding a nation that will take deported migrants whose home country will not accept them. They say this scheme is a key part of Trump's plan for what he calls the largest deportation in history, but it comes with a snag: what to do with illegal immigrants from countries that don't want them back. Homan told Daily Mail he's in negotiations to find an alternative destination in countries that are prepared to house them. He said, we're not waiting for January 20th. We're already having these discussions. We'll find a third country. Until they've signed the agreement and we've got that, I'm not going to take any credit. But the idea that's being floated around is actually inspired in part by the UK. They've had this Rwanda agreement for a while. They haven't really acted on it, but the Rwanda agreement is what the UK struck with the small African nation of Rwanda, saying that they'll house refugees. Now, that scheme by the UK got basically shut down after round of legal challenge, and it's been abandoned by Keir Starmer, their prime minister, this year. But it's a good idea, and Trump and Homan seem open to that idea. It sounds like they're pretty close to finding a nation that will accept those migrants in. But listen, Homan said day one, get ready. Day one, get ready. Workplace raids, construction sites, those are definitely on the table. He said as much over the weekend.
Well, I'm just trying to measure success going forward. For day one, can you help us understand what the plan is? A number of industries in this country hire undocumented workers because they are cheap labor. On day one, are you going to restart raids on work sites, on construction sites?
The President Trump's been clear, as I've been clear from day one, that President is going to concentrate on public safety threats
and national security threats. And have you heard from your previous segments, we have a huge national security issue in this country. The southwest border has become the biggest national security vulnerability we've seen in this nation. FBI Director Wray agrees with me. We know there's people in this country who pose a national security threat. They've arrested a record number of people on the terrorist watch list, a 3,500% increase in people on the terrorist watch list being arrested at the border. We got over 2 million known gotaways. We know 2 million people crossed the border, weren't arrested, weren't vetted, weren't fingerprinted. So you got to ask yourself, why did 2 million people pay more to get away? Why didn't they pay less, turn themselves into Border Patrol, get a free airline ticket to the city of their choice, get a free hotel room, get 3 meals a day, get free medical care?
I'm not disputing that it is a hemisphere-wide.
Why did 2 million more people pay more to get away? So I interviewed Tom Homan, gosh, it was a year ago, 2023 AmFest. And he said to me, listen, you pay two different amounts of money. You pay a smaller amount if you want Border Patrol to apprehend you. You pay a larger amount to the cartels if you don't want Border Patrol to apprehend you. So you have to understand that there are people that paid that larger amount because they don't want to be apprehended, whether they're Chinese or whether they're terrorists. Meanwhile, as you've heard from Tim Burchett, we are essentially funding the Taliban and funding terrorists to the tune of $40 million a week. So they have the resources to send the terrorists to our southern border. And we're footing the bill. Larry in Clarksville wants to talk about money to the Taliban. You're up next on Super Talk. Thanks for holding, Larry. What's up, man?
Hey, Chris. Thanks for taking my call. And first of all, I never thought I'd say this, but salute to Fetterman and kudos for him for actually, being
reasonable.
Open-minded.
Yeah, reasonable. That's all we want.
Yes. And for the 159 Democrats that voted against the Laken Riley bill, may the fleas of 1,000 camels infest your armpits and other places.
Yep.
And this crap of sending the Taliban $40 million a week, why are we giving the Taliban a dime? We don't have the money to help these people in East Tennessee and West Virginia that got devastated by floods. I just 12 days cannot get here soon enough, brother. Thank you, and I appreciate what you guys do.
And we appreciate you, Larry. Yeah, 12 days. It seems short, but it's going to feel very, very long. And everybody has the countdown clock going. From the illegal aliens to the Democrats to us conservatives, we are all counting that down anxiously. We need to get it done. We need Donald Trump back in the White House. We need somebody that's going to lead through strength and common sense. Yeah, kudos to Fetterman, but, we need more reasonable Democrats. That's what we do. We need them. We don't have them. And I don't think we're going to have many more reasonable Democrats besides that. But it's unreal. A Utah man, he fears for his family after a Tren de Aragua member shot his nephew, and that guy got arrested and released from jail. Weird. We'll tell you about that story on the way, plus more illegal alien crime. Mexican gang tunnels being found in Arizona. It's a lot more. We can't get Trump in office soon enough. 12 days. Hang out with us. We'll give you those stories on the way. Plus, anything you want to talk about, 615-737-9986. It's 1122. The show's brought to you by Better Water LLC. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, drivers, we have picked up a multi-vehicle crash that TDOT says has closed eastbound 24. This is going to be there in Antioch. We've also got Murfreesboro, 840 westbound. Looks like they have just cleared that crash up over there by Lebanon. Actually, right there right as you're getting into Murfreesboro, I should say. And now crash Harding Place west of I-24. Brentwood, we've got rolling roadblocks blocking the left 2 lanes of 65 southbound right there before Concord. We've got a snow update. California wildfire death toll, gangs and sex trafficking raid in Antioch coming up at 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Man, you got your work cut out for you today, Ken Weaver. Lots of headlines on the way at 11:30. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. The show's brought to you by Better Water LLC. I mean, it's like every day with the southern border, you see more and more headlines that are just shocking. There's a Utah man who fears for his family's safety as Tren de Aragua gang members involved in the shooting of his nephew have been released from jail. This is an exclusive on the Post Millennial. He told them that he fears for his family's safety after his nephew was shot during a confrontation with members of Tren de Aragua in Utah. Some of the gang members who were charged for involvement with the shooting have been released from jail pending trial. This blows my mind. How are you releasing these people? I imagine that they're illegal aliens, right? Carlos Hernandez, a Venezuelan man who gained asylum in the U.S. in 2023 and lives in Riverton, Utah, told the Post Millennial that the officials have not taken the Tren de Aragua issue seriously. He said that despite having given evidence to the police, some of the gang members that have threatened his family are still out on the streets, even though they've been charged. He said his family is under increasing threat since he also testified against those gang members in court in December. So even when you do the right thing, you're going to be punished, it seems. Unbelievable. And then you get more headlines. Illegal alien stabs 86-year-old man in Portland. Ugh, awful. ICE rearrests illegal alien charged with rape after court releases him. That happened in Massachusetts. Every single day we see stories like this. It doesn't get any better. And I don't think it will until 12 days from now. Also recently, a Mexican gang tunnel has been found under the border into Arizona, spotted by drones. A tunnel believed to be intended for cartel smuggling operations was discovered near the U.S.-Mexico border, south of Yuma, Arizona. The incomplete tunnel was found during a joint investigation by U.S. Customs and Border Protection and state police using drone technology. The tunnel was confirmed by Mexican authorities as a narco tunnel, likely intended for drug and human smuggling. Under Joe Biden, human trafficking in this country has exploded. It's $1 billion business. Business isn't going to be doing so well 12 days from now. Joe in Mount Juliet, you're next on Super Talk. What's up, Joe? Real quick.
Hey, Chris. How you doing, man? Just want to let you know I'm a retired nurse, and about 8 years ago I started driving for Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, Uber Eats. Great job. Really, really enjoyed doing it. Don't know if people realize how many illegal aliens. That's one of the number one jobs that they get is rideshare when they come into this country. The airport, very concerned about that when I begin to see people pull up with boxes of phones, handing phones out. Don't take long to figure out what's going on. So I would call the airport, let them know. They do nothing. I don't know how many times I've called them, emailed them, told them that there's illegals at the airport. Big security risk, massive. Also, Marshall Blackburn emailed, called. The mayor emailed, called. Nothing gets done. Nothing gets done. Nothing gets done.
Yeah, we've actually reported this on my show. Savannah Hernandez is an investigative journalist. She said that you can find Facebook groups, and I appreciate your call. You can find Facebook groups where people sell access to their Uber accounts, people sell access to their Lyft accounts, so that way illegal aliens can drive for Uber. Like there's a whole workaround in that system. I don't know where you bring it. Do you bring it to Uber? Do you bring it to your elected officials? People know that this is going on. They just turn a blind eye. Shocker. It's 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
11:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. And again, looks like eastbound 24 has been closed there at Haywood Lane in Antioch for a crash. They're trying to get that off on the right shoulder. And then in Murfreesboro, you've got 840 westbound, a crash right there at Sulphur Springs Road that's causing quite a backup. Oh, no. Looks like snow. Channel 4's Cruz Medina says what to expect starting Friday.
I'd say at this point, it's safe to say for most of us, 4 to 6 inches of snow. But of course, there will be locally higher amounts, and I think that's going to be across the southern portion of the mid-state. Now, regardless of what side of this 4 to 6 inch range you fall on, the travel impacts are going to remain the same. They're expected to be significant across the mid-state, and of course, we'll see those linger into this weekend as well.
Yeah, we got the full forecast in 4 minutes. Part of Los Angeles in Southern California is literally burning up. Wildfires fueled by sometimes hurricane-force winds, claiming at least 2 lives so far. Many more injured who did not evacuate. This is Los Angeles Fire Chief Kristen Crowley.
Even within the city of Los Angeles, with these 2 major brush fires, our department has responded to 3,624 911 calls for service. And to put that in perspective, our average is just under 1,500 calls in a 24-hour period.
An estimated 1,000 structures have been destroyed in Los Angeles. Right now in Nashville, 5 people in custody for alleged sex trafficking, part of a large federal, state, and local investigation, according to Metro Police spokesman Don Aaron.
There's a lot of facets. As part of this overall investigation, you have the potential for human trafficking. You have some federal involvement there. You've got the shooting that occurred back on September 17th. And we'll look and see where else the investigation leads us.
They have not released any information on the 5 people arrested. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Thank you, Ken. 11:32 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Chris Hand here for Paul Winkler, Inc. You know that I work with Paul. My wife and I, we really love the guy. We trust him. One of the things he's helping us with right now is we had so many different 401ks, like 4 or 5 of them. We're like, why do we have so many? Can we consolidate this? Can we make this a little bit simpler? We didn't know where to start, but we had an expert in our corner in Paul Winkler, and he's helping us figure that out and diversify at the exact same time. Now, before we started talking with Paul, I'll be honest with you, financially illiterate, but Paul and his team, they focus on education, and they've really helped us learn a lot. Now, I do get paid to do the commercials, but I don't get paid to be a client. I'm a client because I trust Paul and his team. One of the reasons you can trust Paul and his team is they don't work on commission. They focus on education. That sets them apart. You'll never get that uneasy feeling of blind trust. Let them look at your whole financial picture and then help you make some decisions. Set up a 15-minute phone call right now, paulwinkler.com. That's paulwinkler.com. It's 11:37 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. The show is brought to you by Better Water LLC. You can find me on Twitter, True Social, Instagram, at Chris Hand on Air. Hit that follow button. The show, you can hear it anywhere. Tune in, iHeart, 99.7 WTN. Those are the apps. You can watch us on Super Talk TV. Hello, how are you? Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, all the things. Podcasts, Apple, Spotify. That's it. It's a lot of things, but we got all the things. Hey, prayers up to the firefighters and the residents of California today. We need to be praying for them harder than they prayed for the residents of East Tennessee and Western North Carolina. They do need them today. There are good people out there, and it's just chaotic what's happening. Absolutely chaotic. As updates roll in, it just gets more heart-wrenching. 100-mile-per-hour gusts of wind today. These fires are just going to get worse. And a lot of these people, man, they don't have insurance. They don't have fire insurance. It's unbelievable. They got 1,000+ structures destroyed in California fires, 70,000+ under evacuation orders, 28,000 structures at risk. It is crazy. It's crazy. And it was just 4 months ago in L.A. that Donald Trump was talking about the need for California to send more water downstate, talking about filling up those reservoirs. You know, you got firefighters going up to fire hydrants, plugging in, and then no water's coming out of them.
And you have so much water, and all those fields that are right now barren, the farmers would have all the water they needed. And you could revert water up into the hills where you have all the dead forests, where the forests are so brittle. Because no place is like California. I go to Austria. The head of Austria tells me, we have trees that are much more flammable than what you have in California. We never have forest fires because they maintain their forests. And you have all that water that could be used as water, what they call water flow, where where the land would be damp. And you'd stop many of these horrible fires that are costing billions and billions of dollars by the federal government, etc. So one thing I'm going to do for California, vote for me, California. I'm going to give you safety. I'm going to give you a great border. And I'm going to give you more water than almost anybody has. And the farmers up north are going to be able to use 100% of their land, not 1% of their land.
You know, the forest cleaning and sweeping of the forest floor, he's talked about that so many times. We've been talking about that since 2018. Since 2018.
I'm going to tell you something. This
isn't new. It just isn't. He's been preaching this a long time. Meanwhile, in California, in light of these fires, you're having massive looting, which is insane. I wish that Newsom would take a DeSantis Florida approach where they just come on TV and say, hey, looters, you're going to be shot. But they won't. Because they can't, restrictive gun laws and all. But multiple looting arrests have already been made during these Los Angeles fires, per the L.A. County Sheriff. Unreal.
I have to say this, but part of our responsibility is to make sure that no one loots or steals from our residents, our community members who are already being impacted. And I'm sad to report we've made 2 arrests this morning for looting already. So if you are thinking about coming into any of these areas to steal from our residents, I'm going to tell you something. You're going to be caught, you're going to be arrested, and you're going to be prosecuted.
But listen, that doesn't scare the criminals in California. You know what I mean? They are not afraid of being arrested and prosecuted by a radical leftist district attorney. They're just not. Nobody's afraid of that. L.A. County Fire Chief said about an hour ago that they have 5,000 acres that have burned and the fire is growing. I mean, it's like apocalyptic, the scenes that you're seeing on Twitter. The embers just swirling around in the wind, the orange glow and the smoke. 5,000 acres that have burned and the fire is growing.
My name is Anthony Maroney. I am the County of Los Angeles Fire Chief, and I'm also the Region 1 Coordinator for Fire and Rescue Resources. I'm going to be giving an update on the Palisades fire in addition to the Eaton fire, although I am aware that we have 4 large fires burning in LA County at this time. The Palisades Fire is located in both LA City and LA County. We are in unified command with the City of Los Angeles Fire Department in addition to CAL FIRE. We have well over 5,000 acres that have burned, and the fire is growing. We have no percentage of containment. We have an estimated 1,000 structures destroyed, and also no reported fatalities, and a high number of significant injuries to residents who did not evacuate, in addition to first responders who are on the fire line.
So a couple things. We do have reported fatalities now, as you heard in Ken Weaver's last newscast. You know, this statement came about an hour ago. But about an hour ago, no percentage of the fire contained. Wow. So it doesn't seem like this is going to be getting any better. Multiple reports of people in L.A. Turning on their Tesla's bioweapon defense mode for the first time. I didn't know that Teslas had a bioweapon defense mode. They're using a HEPA filter and pressurized cabin technology. This mode protects occupants from smoke and other airborne pollutants. You knew that they had that?
Yeah, it's one of the only things I like what Elon Musk is doing with Twitter and what he's doing with the Trump campaign. I hate Teslas personally, just as driving them and whatnot. I did valet for a number of years. That is the coolest thing I've ever seen a company ever do for car manufacturing, is add a safety feature in that in a prominently dry environment such as California, where Tesla is kind of based and very well known. It is a very helpful feature for sure.
Yeah, it's unreal.
It's awesome.
I had no idea they had that.
It's so incredible. It's helped in so many other fires too. I've seen videos of people in their Teslas like, hey, I'm able and comfortable because I can live through this event right now because there's so much smoke around me and I can't get to a very safe space, especially out of the smoke. And they were able to stay safe because of their Teslas.
Wow.
It was really cool.
That is very cool. I mean, thinking outside the box, 100%.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, hey, you might have a HEPA filter in your car. You might have a bioweapon defense mode in your Tesla. But you know what a lot of people don't have? Insurance, fire insurance right now. And that's mind-blowing. Apparently, they've just recently had their insurance canceled. This is a recent development in the past, months. And there's a heartbreaking story going viral now, of a woman going to her parents' house, 62-year-old woman, sneaks around the blockades, gets to her parents' house, and she's trying to spray it down with a hose because her parents are 90 years old and they don't have fire insurance. They're going to lose everything. And what do you do then? So this woman's risking it all.
Here, but this is my parents' home.
I know the feeling.
And they just they got canceled from their fire insurance. So they're dealing with this. They're 90 years old. And through the state of California, because of this, they're 90 years old, that they've lived in this house for 75 years, and they've had the same insurance, and these insurance people decided to cancel their fire. And we're going through this, and it just happened, and they have no fire insurance.
Heartbreaking. 90 years old. You think about that home as your nest egg. That could be the plan for a nursing home. And, hey, up in smoke, quite literally. This woman's out there, 62 years old, doing anything she can to save her own parents' house.
So, thank you, California insurance companies, supporting residents who pay taxes and love California. And they wonder why people leave California.
I mean, I don't wonder why people leave California. You look at the gross mismanagement there. Fire hydrants with no water. The DEI hire of the LA fire chief, who's just woefully unprepared and ill-equipped in this situation. The governor, who has been told you need forest management since at least 2018. No action taken. None. They laughed at Donald Trump when he suggested that. They laughed at him. Yet here we are, once again, state of California dealing with just intense wildfires. People losing everything.
First and foremost, you did get your parents out safely.
I live in Sierra Madre. My parents are in Sierra Madre, but...
And now you know that it is under evacuation as well, north of Sierra Madre Boulevard.
Yeah, I snuck here. You know, there's a will, there's a way. Probably shouldn't do it, but you know what? Under the circumstances, send me to jail. That's fine.
It is unbelievable what's happening here to the neighbors. Your parents' house is still standing. You had a hose. You're doing what you can.
Listen, she said, if there's a will, there's a way. Send me to jail. In these situations, nobody's coming to save you. I'll be honest. Like, you can't rely on, as hard as the firefighters are working, and best believe, they are working as hard as they can. It's so massive, you can't rely on people to come save you. And this poor woman, 62 years old, she understands that, and she's risking it all to try and save the home of her parents. God bless her. Say a prayer for that family and that home. I mean, I don't know if the prayers will help in that situation, but keep praying for California. Frank in Bethpage wants to talk about the wildfires. What's up, Frank?
Hey, I grew up in the 60s and 70s in Southern California, Mission Viejo area, and I remember distinctly many wildfires out there that these bombers would come right over the house, and you'd see them pull up just short ways away, and they'd drop the chemical retardant on the fire. I've come out and seen the car that looked like a light snow had covered it. It was ash from the fire, and if it rained, the stuff, it was like driving on ice because all that ash blew off, got in the street. It's the Santa Ana winds, 70, 80, 90 miles an hour. I've seen Orange County Airport, small aircraft, even though they were chained, flipped around, twisted up because the winds were so high. Another thing a lot of folks don't realize is there's no humidity in that. When the winds are coming in like that, it's like 0 to 3 or 4% humidity, maybe. Unbelievably dry. Everything you touch, you get shocked every time you touch a doorknob or anything in the house, or when you go out, anything you touch. So it is so dry out there, and they don't. Well, where I grew up, they did have a bulldozer driving through the hills that would make a fire break. It's a fire break, which in a situation like this, it's probably going to jump it, but at least the trucks could get through. But they quit doing that because of environmental concerns. And the environmental concern, I think, is kind of wasted when you've got millions of acres burnt to the burn, and everything you're trying to preserve, critters, are dead.
Yeah, 100%.
So, I don't know.
No, you're absolutely right. Yeah, thanks for the call, Frank. What's the environmental concern if the environment is destroyed, right? And the L.A. fire chief, the DEI hire, she's been more focused on DEI training instead of preparing for wildfires.
Angeles Fire Department is launching its first ever Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Bureau. It is dedicated to ensuring a fair and equal workplace environment.
Eyewitness News reporter Christian Cordero is live in North Hollywood with more on what it entails and why it's necessary. Christian?
Ellen, Colleen, the discrepancies are stark, even just on paper. The LAFD this year hired its first ever female chief, and it says so far this year, 8% of its applicants have been women. That might sound like a small number, but it's actually twice the percentage of female firefighters currently in the department.
You know who I want to be my firefighter? Somebody that can do the job, right? So somebody that meets the basic qualifications, somebody that's brave and courageous. If that's a woman, great. If that's a person of color, awesome. But I want the person that's qualified, not the person that checks all the boxes. And it seems like the LA fire chief has been more focused on DEI than she's been focused on her duties to protect that city. The rank and file firefighters in LA, I'm sure of it. Good guys, good ladies, working their tails off today to try and save whoever and whatever they can. But it's getting increasingly difficult for these people to do their job when leadership is more focused on DEI than they are on the job. Unbelievable. It's 11:52 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. The show is brought to you by Better Water LLC. We're going to check in with Chad Benson next, see what he's got coming up on the Chad Benson Show today, right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It's 11:56 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. I was just talking with Chad about the interview we had with Father Calvin Robinson about the grooming gangs in England. And so you lived in England.
Yeah.
But you lived in England when it was still England.
Yes, when it's still proper England.
So
Not
what
that fake stuff that it is now?
What years were you there?
Went over there when I was, 16? So 87 through like 97.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Doing radio?
Played soccer, then I did radio.
Okay.
And it was cool. Voiceovers.
Were you on LBC leading Britain's conversation?
There was no.
No, it wasn't there
the
yet.
The station I was on was called Talk Radio UK.
Okay.
There was no talk station outside of the BBC. There was very few stations outside of the BBC. So Talk Radio UK was the first station to essentially compete with the BBC. There was no LBC the way it is. There was no GM Talk or any of that stuff.
At the time, were you the conservative you are now? Because I wonder, like, did the things that you say on the air, would you find yourself in hot water? You know, I know it was probably a little bit different at the time, but you know still kind of weird.
When I was on the air, we were like, so we did an overnight show, and we always joked, we were a morning rock show that was on a talk station because we were young. I'm like, even though I was fairly conservative, the reality is I'm 23. You shouldn't listen to me about anything. I had no life experience.
And this is in London.
And we were in London. We were in Oxford Street. It's fantastic. Okay. It was fantastic. It was great. It's fantastic. I love being there. I'd go back again. But it's nuts now. And their rules are it's a lot easier to sue over there. They didn't have social media, so there was never any worry. But there were times when you would say something and they would call you in, or it's definitely not what we have. We're so blessed to have what we have. As crazy as I know some people think, oh, we got the Patriot, I've got this, that, and the other. Yeah, everybody slow down. If you realize how absolutely restricted a lot of the countries are, you'd be like, whoa, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's wild. So why'd you leave?
I just came back home. I loved America, and I came back home, and I miss it, but I still talk to my friends over there all the time. But it is... there's just something about America. You miss it, Yeah. Again, I always said it was my second home. Lived in Scotland for a year, and that was fantastic.
Yeah.
The Scots are great. Giant Vikings.
That's wild. And it's just not the same.
It is not. It is not the same. It is so much more restrictive, and they've become so PC. It's like all of Britain has turned into essentially like California.
It's wild.
Yeah, except it's not on fire.
Yeah. California is on fire. What are you talking about on the show today?
Talk a little bit about that. I already have a friend who, his father-in-law, buddy of mine, he lost his house already. Man. And it is devastating. And it's the worst money-wise in the history of California, and it's less than really 24 hours old.
And it's going to get worse.
It's going to get a lot worse. It's going to get a lot worse, at least for the next 12 to 15 hours.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Yeah, prayers up for everybody in California. Chad Benson is on his way in next. It's 12 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.